ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on my journey today for the very first episode of Australia's Greatest Driving Roads, where I'm bringing you my review of this view, which is of course Brisbane's awesome Mount Nebo. It's still got a population of about 300 people, so it's a pretty decent little village. There are two different ways to get up Mount Nebo. You can either come from the suburb of the Gap and then come up along the ridge, or you can come up the valley through Sanford and then straight up the steep way, and that is when it gets really quite steep indeed. It's almost not suitable for trucks and caravans, but for little sports cars and motorbikes, oh, it's a haven. It's so good. Just don't go biting off more than you can chew, because some of these corners do tighten as they exit, so you may end up finding your car stepping out on you as you're coming out of the corner, and that, if someone's coming the other way, might not be such a good thing. One of the things that I love about Mount Nebo is the fact that you can go from the CBD of Brisbane to Mount Nebo in half an hour. It actually can be done. Now when it comes to the traffic for Mount Nebo, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, simply because of the fact that it is quite difficult to get a clean run from the bottom to the top of the mountain without having find yourself getting held up by something like a four-wheel drive or a camper or something. Do time your runs perfectly, say I think 5 AM on a Sunday morning, you'd easily be able to get a couple clean runs in, or even late, say 7 o'clock on a Friday night. However, if everyone's at home watching the footy, you go up there, you should be able to get a clean run. Now where Melbourne has the Black Spur and Los Angeles has the Mulholland Highway, Brisbane has Mount Nebo, and the reason I'm comparing Mount Nebo to the Mulholland Highway and the Black Spur is simply because Nebo is more of a motorer's haven, you could say, more of a getaway. It's slightly more of a treacherous road, as much as I don't like to say it, but it is more sought after by those of us in the motoring community, whereas Mount Tamborine is more of a Sunday driver's kind of getaway. It's more of a scenic kind of drive, more relaxed, but it's the corners and the gradients and the unpredictability of some of the corners around Mount Nebo that makes it kind of stand out and allows me to put it up against roads like the Black Spur and Mulholland Highway. Now Mount Nebo's 446 metre altitude does mean that if you do come through Sanford through the valley, you climb most of that 400 metres. I'd say it's probably actually 300 metres at the end, but you cover about 300 metres in altitude over just a couple short Ks, so that's why it gets so tight and twisty along that last bit there. Now when it comes to the speed that you can carry through Mount Nebo, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10, simply because a lot of these turns are deceptively sharp. You have to slow down more than you think, and the straights are few and far between, so even if you do find a straight, or when you find a straight, it's really not that long, so it's pretty much just tight twists and turns most of the way. Now for the fluency, I'm going to give it a 6, because you can find some of those parts where it just goes S's and motorbikes can cut straight through, and that's what I love when it comes to fluency. That's the kind of fluent corners I love. But then a lot of the corners, especially the Sanford way, are like second gear hairpins, so that's what kind of brings back that fluency and forces you to slow down a lot more than some people might want to. When it comes to the danger of Mount Nebo, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, simply because there are a few spots where there's a straight and then there's a right at the end of the straight, and then straight after the rise there's a sharp right turn, and that turn is unsignposted, so if you're carrying a lot of speed over the straight away there's a turn, you're going to end up in a bank. And there are corners like this as well when you come flying down the hill, and this is steeper than it looks like. It's not coming out on camera, but you come down the hill, and if your brakes are already hot, they may already be worn, come around the right hand turn, and then straight away without warning there's a second gear hairpin which is going to put you in the rail. So you really got to be on your toes with Mount Nebo and really take it back a notch, because some of these corners will catch you out. Now the fun factor for Mount Nebo I really rate highly, because it gets better the more you drive it, and because it's so tricky in some spots and you really got to concentrate so you don't end up in a bank, that's what makes it so interesting to drive for me, because there are some roads that are predictable and smooth, which if you do drive repeatedly can get a bit too predictable and, dare I say it, boring. Whereas Mount Nebo, it's got those unpredictable turns. You do have to be concentrating not to get yourself caught out. And that's why I love Mount Nebo so much. It's because it's always got that unpredictability factor that you do have to always concentrate so you're not getting caught out and sliding all over the place and potentially going into a hedge. Now, last point I do want to bring up about Mount Nebo is the scenery. Now, it does have a good couple of well-positioned lookouts on the way up and on top of Mount Nebo. They do really provide good views. It's even got that little wooden walk path that you probably would have seen me standing on at the start of the video. I've only just discovered that today, so I'm not sure if there's any more little hidden lookouts scattered along Mount Nebo, but the two major ones that I've been to have provided a really good view. The drive up and the drive down, the views are pretty concealed by the trees on the side of the road. You can get some good views out to the side along some of the spots of road. And that's what's going to give it a 7 out of 10 for me. While the views are really good, a lot of the time you can't see them while you're driving, so you do have to pull up and go to the lookout. That's no bad thing. I mean, it's no bad thing to pull up and take in the view and smell the scenery. So to me, Mount Nebo is the best driving road I've driven on in Queensland thus far. However, this is only episode 1 of Australia's Greatest Driving Roads, so as we get more episodes down each week, I'm going to see if I can find a better driving road to topple Mount Nebo. So for the overall score of greatness of Mount Nebo, I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10 stars, because it is a perilous and dangerous road, but it is sought after by motoring enthusiasts like myself, because it is more of a rewarding drive overall. It does make you concentrate in the tight turns, and there are unexpected turns here and there, but the more you drive it and the more you familiarise yourself with it, the better it becomes, and it is just so much fun to hook in. And it's not one of those mountains that has a ridiculously low speed limit, like 50 k's an hour. Mount Nebo, you can do 80 k's an hour, and that, yeah, it's plenty fast enough for these turns up here, believe me on that one. So that's where I'm going to leave it today, guys. 8.5 stars out of 10 for Mount Nebo. I'm pretty happy with that score, and if you are too, please don't hesitate to leave a like on the video below. And if you aren't happy with the score, then let me know how you would have scored Mount Nebo differently down below in the comments. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching episode 1 of Australia's Greatest Driving Roads. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I certainly did enjoy filming it. So if you haven't already subscribed to Threadcar, make sure you do that to keep up to date with all of Australia's Greatest Driving Roads episodes every Wednesday from now on until the end of the season. Thanks so much again for watching, guys. I appreciate your company, and I will see you guys in a couple of days. If you do like Mount... okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Hopefully you're still recording.